Hey, today I'll be talking about episodes 69 through 70 of Legend of ZhenHuan. It comes time to select the bride for the third prince. Just like the Empress Dowager, the Empress wants to make sure that the next Empress belongs to her clan, the Ulanara clan. So she's pushing hard for her niece, Qingying, to be chosen, but the third prince doesn't seem interested. He's interested in someone else. Taiping, the servant girl Huanbi sent over as a distraction for the emperor back in episode 66. She's now called Noble Lady Ying, and is technically sort of his stepmom. He finds her endlessly fascinating. After third prince rejects the empress's niece, the empress pushes for her to marry the fourth prince. She means to embarrass the fourth prince. You know, she wasn't good enough for my son, but you can have her. ZhenHuan sees it for what it is, but Qingying does have a good connection, so she tells the fourth prince to go along with it. Guowang and his wives visit the palace.
熹贵妃别来无恙。
本宫身体安康。
Every look and move between these two makes me want to cry. They're just so sadly, desperately in love. I also appreciate that though he doesn't love his wife, it's clear to see that he doesn't mistreat her. I mean, it's not her fault, really. Huanbi is, as usual, not happy about something. She comes to see ZhenHuan complaining that Guowang treats Jingxian well, and the servants like her. What? Clearly, marriage has not made Huanbi any less annoying. When Jingxian later comes to see ZhenHuan, Huanbi hides, not wanting to see her. Jingxian has some good news. She is 1 month pregnant. They chat, and not knowing Huanbi is hiding behind the curtain, Jingxian wonders aloud why it seems like, despite all the stories of their legendary love, Huanbi and Guowang don't seem all that close at home. Jingxian is a nice person, she's just being curious, but it really cracks me up that she literally couldn't have picked a worse thing to say with Huanbi listening. Third prince begins stalking Ying Guiren around the palace. Things get aggressive.
我是你的庶母。
我心里有你，皇阿玛她老了。
He starts writing her love letters when she doesn't respond to his, shall we say, advances. How can you be this stupid? It's not long before ZhenHuan is called in to see the emperor and the empress. Ying is crying her eyes out, and the empress is ready to throw all the blame at ZhenHuan's feet. A letter was found, written by third prince. It said, "Hey girl, I know this is weird because you're my stepmom, but you know what would be thebomb.com if you and me had sex. Love, your main man, third prince." Or something like that. So anyway, the empress is saying of course it couldn't be her precious baby boy, that harlot must have seduced him. The emperor takes her side.
皇上，真的没有。
朕不想再听了。苏培盛，
Ying is sentenced to death. He has everyone but ZhenHuan leave, and then asks her if Huanbi and Guowang sent Ying here on purpose to seduce the third prince. The motive here would be Guowang wanting to embarrass the emperor by embarrassing his oldest son, weakening his reputation so that eventually he could stage a coup. This makes zero sense if you know anything about Guowang, but the emperor is and always has been a super suspicious dude, especially when it comes to his brother stealing his throne. ZhenHuan gets a little too agitated, guaranteeing that Guowang is completely loyal and wants nothing to do with the crown. She gets her share of suspicion as well. She would also benefit from third prince being out of the picture since fourth prince is next in line for the throne. When he meets with his son in private though, it's clear that he's thinking much more clearly than he lets on. He slaps his son, telling him he knows Ying Guiren was innocent, but she had to die in order to protect the name of the royal family. Pretty much a necessary sacrifice thanks to third prince's stupidity. It's cold, it's awful, but I get it. I think most parents would choose their children's future over anyone else's, not to mention the emperor who's used to thinking he matters more than anyone else. Poor Ying Guiren, she didn't even want to come to the palace in the first place, and now she's dead. ZhenHuan gets pregnant again. When she next has Duan and Jing over, ZhenHuan shares Lingrong's last words with them.
皇后，杀了皇后。
She suddenly realizes that though she initially thought Lingrong was telling her to kill the empress, she was actually saying the empress killed the empress. A bit of wordplay that works in Chinese because both sentences are said the same way. Duan has been in the palace the longest and shares some of her knowledge. We get the empress's full backstory. I'll use her name Yishou and her sister's name Chunyuan to cut down on confusion. Back when the emperor was still a prince, Yishou was his secondary wife, set to be his main wife after giving birth to their first son. Her sister, Chunyuan, was brought in to take care of her as her pregnancy progressed, and the emperor fell in love at first sight. He decided to make Chunyuan his main wife, even though that was promised to Yishou. So, her sister became the empress. Then Yishou lost her son. Immediately after that, her sister got pregnant. So pretty much she lost her position and her child seemingly to her sister. Not seeing the conflict of interest, the emperor asked Yisho to take care of her sister since she was having a difficult pregnancy. Cough, 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 something happened, and Chunyuan ended up giving birth to a stillborn. After delivering, she was too weak to live on. Before she died, she begged the emperor to take care of her little sister, which is why the emperor then made Yisho the empress and is so lenient with her now. The trio is of course suspicious about the first empress's death because the empress they know would have been bitter and angry about her sister stealing what she thought was hers.
那么是他杀了成员皇后和皇子，可是咱们没有证据呀。一定会有的。
They decide to lay low and try to gather evidence. Later, Jing tells Longyue,
无论在什么时候，你都要保护新娘娘。
It's nice to see that Jing really is loyal to ZhenHuan and never tries to badmouth her to her daughter.
这话额娘说过多次，我都记得。
ZhenHuan's pregnancy is not going smoothly. She asks Dr. Wen to come and see her. He tells her that she didn't take good care of herself after the birth of her twins, and her body is really weak. There's nothing that can be done to keep this child.
不够5个月。
5个月。
That gives her about a month. She's now in the same position that Lingrong was in, and it looks like she's got the exact same plan. Make use of the inevitable miscarriage. With the death of the Empress Dowager and the Emperor getting older, talk begins about who should be the next crown prince. The Emperor hasn't actually assigned one yet, but third prince being the oldest seems like the natural choice. Or he would be if he wasn't such a dummy. All of the Empress's hopes rest on the third prince, and she begins meeting with officials to get support for her son. ZhenHuan is playing it much smarter, never bad-mouthing third prince and encouraging the Emperor to give him more responsibility since he's the oldest son. Even when the Emperor complains about him, ZhenHuan is just like, oh, he's a good kid, he'll get better. The Emperor is particularly sensitive to these crown prince shenanigans because when he was a prince, a huge fight started between him and his brothers, leading to the death or imprisonment of quite a few of them. He's made it clear that he doesn't want that for his sons, so it's really smart of ZhenHuan to make it seem like she doesn't care if fourth prince becomes the crown prince, and I think the Empress would be doing the same if she weren't so desperate. Her desperation makes sense though. Third prince is so stupid. So stupid. What the hell did you think would happen here? You and your stepmom would live happily ever after? He's officially more dim than his mother ever was, and he got an innocent girl killed for it. When it comes to the competition between the Empress and ZhenHuan though, in some ways it was just luck of the draw. Neither ZhenHuan nor the Empress actually raised their sons. ZhenHuan has definitely taught the fourth prince a lot, but he's also just naturally intelligent, and third prince is naturally dumb. If ZhenHuan had the third prince, even as smart as she is, I don't think she could have managed to get him to the top. We'll see how it plays out, I guess. Till next time, thanks for watching.